事实上，这个奖最后的得主也是另外一组毛利电视台的记者夺得。2009年8月19号，往来东加群岛之间的渡轮沉船的事件，这艘船在2009年沉到太平洋，至少造成纽西兰跟东加95名乘客死亡。但为什么这样的新闻很重要呢？因为这是当地的族人主要联外的交通工具，但是整个政府的体制对于渡轮安全的控管出现了严重的瑕疵。例如，再带您看到这位妇女，她哭泣，因为船难让她失去了心爱的儿子。他的儿子是一名船员。事隔5年之后，纽西兰毛利电视台的记者群持续的不断挖掘船难出事真正的原因。这则报道兼具地缘性的关切、平衡的报道，以及对原住民族生死交关的事件进行详实的分析跟探索，具备多方的观点跟立场，成为今年世界原住民族新闻奖国际新闻报道奖项的得主。但是对原住民族的记者来说，得奖当然不是最终的目的，让原住民族的心声被听见，让常年遭受不公平的待遇被解决，才是原住民族媒体存在真正的价值。继续特别报道，就要带您来看到这则来自毛利电视台的新闻专题。
To Tongans, the sea is their playground, their livelihood, their highway, and as we now know, it can be their graveyard.
It's been 3.5 years since the Princess Ashika sank, taking 74 lives with it. The Commission of Inquiry found it was an unseaworthy rust bucket that should have never been allowed to go out to sea. So what's changed? Well, with some of the ferries here in Tonga, not much. Experts still consider several to be unseaworthy, even death traps.
Yeah, I see that it's very dangerous.
You know, like the screaming of the people because of, you know, it feels like it's going to capsize.
One Tongan MP is so concerned about the state of ferries that serve his island of Ewa, he's been lobbying Tongan and New Zealand politicians to help to get them replaced before anyone else dies.
After the Ashika, we felt sad about that, what happened here in Tonga, and I don't want that tragedy to happen here in Ewa.
Did you know anyone on the Princess Ashika?
I got cousins there. They were on that tragedy. But you know, the terrible news that no women and no child are alive, they all dead.
In this nation of 170 islands and thousands of kilometres of ocean, the risks to life remain very real, and that worries some of our politicians.
We know that lives have already been lost because of unseaworthiness. We have a humanitarian obligation to help, but it's more than that. You know, Tonga is part of our Pacific family. They're our friends, they're our neighbours, and they're literally family because we have a Tongan population of 50,000 in New Zealand.
The loss of the Ashika opened up Tonga's ferry services to intense scrutiny. How many are unsafe? How many lives are at risk? And the Royal Commission of Inquiry exposed a system that failed from bottom to top.
I would never let that happen. If that amount of people dies and I'm the minister, I would rather die myself. I cannot just face these people. No, it's not fair and it's not right.
Despite that assurance from Tonga's Minister of Infrastructure, Native Affairs has obtained documents that show ferries still operate, which marine experts say are far from safe, including the two which serve the island of Ewa. A World Bank report says this ferry, the Ala Moana, which makes the 2.5-hour journey to the island several times a week, is unseaworthy. We filmed it in dry dock having its annual maintenance, but when the World Bank marine expert took a ride on it 2 years ago, he reported the vessel was fundamentally flawed. It rolled perilously, the deck edge was submerged often, and it could capsize. A frank assessment that took the owner by surprise.
I was very shocked. I didn't know the World Bank is doing any kind of report until it came out. There was no consultation with me. There was no, they didn't ask us so that we could refer them to the people who actually do work on our boat. And I am very concerned that they put that out because it hurts my reputation. I've invested a lot in terms of time and funds to ensure that this boat's safety.
Some of it's not good reading. It said the vessel rolled perilously and the deck edge was submerged often.
It's ridiculous. Like, how long have they done this study? You know, how did they do it? I've never had any complaints on the boat.
This boat, the Ikale, according to the World Bank marine experts, is also unseaworthy, and it should be removed from service and replaced immediately. The owner attacks the World Bank for doing nothing to help.
When you ask, how much money did you put in your aid to one of the vessels? An actual cost, a cent, not one. The money is all spent on report. So my question is to the aid donor, your role in safety in general to the public, right? How is it that you pay consultants over $1,000 a day to write a report, but when you ask, is there a penny spent on the actual boat to make a boat safe? Not 1 cent.
How safe is your vessel, the Ikale?
My vessel, Ikale, is safe because I go on it and my family goes on it. I put my standards to my own family. Did that answer your question?
If the owners are dismissive of the World Bank's criticism, so is the man who ultimately decides whether they can still go to sea or not, the Tongan Minister of Infrastructure.
If you look at that World Bank report, they are talking about not putting a gas bottle or something at the proper place. That's not unseaworthy. It's to tell them where to put it, not say that the vessel would then be unseaworthy.
In your opinion, Minister, are those boats safe?
Yes. If it wasn't seaworthy, we wouldn't let it go.
It's worth remembering that the Princess Ashika was certified as seaworthy by the Tongan government. And it's not only World Bank marine officials that are concerned, so are New Zealand experts, as you'll hear in a minute. But first, let's hear from the people of Ewa, these 4,000 islanders who have no choice but to ride the unseaworthy ferries to and from the main island of東加渡輪. They'll tell you how perilous the trip can be and how just weeks ago the Ikale ended up on these rocks.
The engine were off on the way in, entry to the wharf, and then they shift to the other side of the wharf. It was resting on the rock.
The boat was running on one engine, no backup, and when the generator broke down, it lost power and steering. Locals say that's not the only time life has been at risk.
The red ferry has a railing on top where people can actually sit on there. When we were on top and it capsized so much that someone went over, and then we had to do a big U-turn to pick that person up. And a lot of our local people said that they've seen that, you know, plenty of times. I think because we've been sort of running like this for so many years, it becomes like the only ferry, and I think people just get used to it, huh?
But when New Zealand officials were sent to inspect Tonga's ferries after the Ashika went down, they were deeply disturbed about what they saw, and they said so in reports.
Native Affairs has obtained documents under the Official Information Act that show that New Zealand officials have grave concerns about some of the ferries operating here in Tonga. Some of those reports have been withheld. It's feared their release would damage the international relations with some Pacific nations and the New Zealand government.
But we obtained one of those reports from the Tongan government. The Maritime New Zealand official found, quote, significant risks to the safety of life still exist in Tonga, and it's taking considerable time to satisfactorily address these risks.
Reports from Maritime New Zealand that said that lives were being put at risk. We should have acted on that.
The opposition here has tried to get the government to release the reports, but it's refused.
It was a deliberate decision by ministers of the Crown in New Zealand to suppress that information. Jerry Brownlee, who replied to me as Minister of Transport to a question denying he had any reports when he had them, and Murray McCully deliberately suppressing the information, refusing to answer parliamentary questions.
New Zealand has handed the reports to Tongan officials, but they have not made them public. Those who ride the ferries remain in the dark.
We're coming to a time we say that most of our job to be transparent. There's no transparency here. It's good to release the reports and then we go to the next step.
New Zealand Foreign Minister Murray McCully has visited the island, but the ferry service wasn't top of his agenda. He did agree to give the island money, but not for a boat. That doesn't fit in with our new aid policy.
New Zealand's aid is no longer aimed at alleviating poverty. It's more about helping Tonga pay its own way in the world. So in a place like Ewa, it means the New Zealand government will give $2.8 million to help develop this airport, which will bring in money and tourism, but won't fund the only form of transport the locals can afford, the ferry.
They build the airport, but they don't care in the one that I feel this is the priority for Ewa. We need a good ferry for the poor people. Only the rich people can use the plane.
Raises some real questions about the priorities of New Zealand development assistance. 2.8 million into an airport that the locals can't afford to use, and an absolute refusal to contribute $1 to the ferries that the locals are forced to use.
There is one thing that people of Ewa, Tongan politicians and boat owners are agreed on. Why did New Zealand and the World Bank send experts to make reports and then not follow them up with the thing that can make the difference? Financial help.
If you don't do anything about it, why fuss about it? We have done our own due diligence to the best that we can do.
We talk about safety, but when it comes down for money to be spent on making a vessel seaworthy, there's no money spent on it. So the other question is, if we stop all the Tongan boats that is unseaworthy, who's going to bring their boat to take the poor people around? Remember, the airplane take the rich people. These boats take around the poor people. Who's going to transport the poor people? No one.
And Ewa is poor, very poor. But the island decided it had no choice but to try and achieve what many thought impossible: buy its own boat. Each family of the island's 15 villages was asked to give 200 pa'anga. That's about 150 New Zealand dollars. And on this island, that's a lot of money.
So we start raising fund here in Ewa, and also I was in San Francisco, LA, Los Angeles, Arizona, Texas, Seattle, and up to Alaska. There are Ewa people there. So I did establish committees all around those places to start raising funds.
When it started raising money 6 years ago, the island hoped that with financial help from New Zealand, it could build a new boat. That wasn't to be. Remarkably, they did manage to raise 1 million Tongan pa'anga. That's about 728,000 New Zealand dollars. Enough to buy the 16-year-old vessel from South Korea called the Onemato. launched last month amid much celebration.
To top it off, the King of Tonga accepted to come and cut the ribbon on the ferry.
The people are now very happy here in Ewa. This is their money. This is their boat.
They just kept persevering over the years, and they've come through with the goods. I think everyone's sort of shocked. They're on a high.
It means women and children can now cross one of the most dangerous stretches of water in Tonga, the 7K deep Tonga Trench, in a much safer boat. But the risks are far from over. The island had to take out a loan to buy the boat, and no one knows if they can afford to make the repayments and keep the boat running. The islanders want Tonga's marine authorities to stop the old unseaworthy vessels, but their owners have no intention of doing so. Quite the opposite. They've started a price war with the people's boat.
I'm second and third generation. You know, I'm here to stay. And so when people come and compete, I think it's a good thing that we compete.
I'm very happy that the Ewa people are doing this because I believe it will show them that this is truly a costly exercise, right? And the prices that we've been charging are reflective of those costs. We're not making millions like how they think it is going. And I just hope for them that their investment is not wasted.
For the people of Ewa, the reprieve from riding in boats that are regarded by experts as unseaworthy might be temporary, which is why they will keep lobbying New Zealand to help, in the hope it will have a change of heart, and Tongans will not be exposed to unnecessary risks when they journey to and from home.
That's what I wish that New Zealand might help us in the future to build a new one. I still continue on to fight with them and to request them for a new one in the future.